Welcome to Who Knew. We are fans of the current series of Doctor Who, and here we discuss our likes, dislikes, and insights into the modern regeneration of the show. Subscribe, review, and listen to us on iTunes and Stitcher, or our YouTube channel, youtube.com/WhoKnewPodcast. All our episodes are on WhoKnewPodcast.com. You can leave comments there, or email us at WhoKnewPodcast@gmail.com. We also have an Instagram and Twitter account. Tweet at us at WhoKnewPodcast, and find us on Facebook. Today's episode is Midnight, Season 4, Episode 10. The Doctor takes a big space truck with a bunch of strangers across a diamond planet called Midnight. What could possibly go wrong? This episode is written by Russell T. Davis.
This episode was written by Russell T. Davis.
Directed by Alice Troughton.
Directed by Alice Troughton.
It originally aired on the 14th of June, 2008.
It originally aired on the 14th of June, 2008.
And was watched by 8.05 million viewers.
And was watched by 8.05 million viewers.
That's impossible.
That's impossible.
Stop it.
Stop it.
Hi, this is Eugene. Let's introduce ourselves.
Hi, this is Eugene. Oh, sorry.
Hi, this is Frank.
Hi, this is Frank.
This here is Josh.
This here is Josh.
Hello, this is Auburn.
Hello, this is Auburn.
Kelsey.
And this is Brian.
And this is Brian.
On the planet Midnight, Donna chooses sunbathing over joining the Doctor sightseeing. He boards a tour bus with a handful of strangers. This planet has no air, and the tour bus doors and windows are sealed shut without a view outside. This is to block the harsh radiation. Driver Joe announces that they will be taking an alternate route to the Sapphire Waterfall, a route that no one has taken before. The hostess tells them there are multiple forms of entertainment available to pass the time on the 4-hour voyage, and plays them all at once. The Doctor uses his sonic to turn off the cacophony, so the group can spend the time talking. Professor Winfold Hobbs is there to study the planet itself, which has no known history. He tells them that before the Leisure Palace Company set up their resort, no living thing has any record of coming to this system.
So this is the first companion light episode.
Yes.
And we just had a Doctor Light episode. Is that?
No, we will.
Didn't
We will.
Next one. I really like how all the entertainment was all old school and retro.
Yeah.
Less license fees.
Yeah, there's no
there
Disney,
you
no
go.
Warner Brothers.
Well, I still liked it. And then also, too, it made me start to look at the other passengers. And aside from very slight subtleties, they look like they're dressed from today. Like, it made me wonder, like, when is this even supposed to take place? And even there were even things about the vehicle itself that just seemed very today.
Didn't the telephone have a cord?
Yeah, Donna's
Yeah,
phone.
like everything. Like, I like that.
But it had a cord jack, but it had no cord because
That's for
she was
Donna.
supposed to hold it the other way so you don't see it.
That's for Donna.
That's
For
funny.
Donna's.
Yeah, but for the Doctor talking to her in the terminal, it had a cord. And I think the hostess, her phone has a cord.
Yeah. And there was also a gumball machine next to the phone he was talking.
So it takes place in the Battlestar Galactica universe.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was to make it more relatable to the current people who are watching. It was, this is a reflection of your society.
Right.
Just set
I
in the
get
future
that.
so that you can relate to what's going on.
Right. It's in a way like what Brad Bird says about The Incredibles, like the fantastic combined with the mundane, or the incredible combined with the mundane.
Also, it saved him a lot of money.
Yeah.
Which this episode is
Supposed to do.
written for.
And then to that, Professor Hobbs uses an old school slide projector. I'm like,
Right.
this is the future. Wouldn't that be like on your little pen or something? But I thought that was nice.
I got it.
I think the structure of, like, when we first get onto the car or the wagon and we go through and we meet all the characters, we are just getting, like, their stereotypical. You have the professor and his assistant, the couple
The movie
with the
star.
punk kid.
Yeah,
the
Professor
yeah,
Marianne.
Yeah. And also, to Josh's point of it being kind of contemporary, the airport humor or, like, the airplane humor of, like, here's your earplugs, here's,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
the
Make it 10
juice, here's
peanuts.
your... yes. It's a very, like, it sets it in that, like, Seinfeld airplane joke. Like, yeah, every person can relate.
I do wish they would have pushed a little bit more instead of a 4-hour voyage, a 3-hour tour, to get there. It's like you already have the whole Gilligan's Island.
Maybe this was the quickest way to get us to be seeing these people as common people comfortable.
Everyday people that
Everyday
could be
people. There's
anybody.
nothing special about these people at all. They're just all on the same bus.
Going back to Silence of the Library, it seemed like he had planned for a trip where she said, "This isn't a beach. I'm not lying out
Right.
in the sun." So it seemed like, okay, that's what she wants. So she took him.
Well,
So
they probably-
the doctor took her here for this. No, I'm taking advantage of this, and it fits her character. It just seemed both right and a little bit odd at the same time that she wouldn't want to go see some of these marvels.
Some production notes in that beginning scene where the shields and the things drop on the Crusader bus. They had to do a lot of ADR in that scene because when the shields dropped, it was all plywood, so you could hear that it sounded like plywood. And the sound team on this episode is amazing for what they did.
And if anybody wanted to do a Doctor Who episode on stage, this is the episode to do.
Yeah.
Oh, right, because it's all one location.
And it
pretty
runs more
much.
like a play, if you think about it.
Nice.
This- I mean-
Oh, I never thought about that.
This whole episode is like a Twilight Zone.
Oh, for sure.
Totally.
Or Outer
Monsters are
Limits.
due on Maple Street.
I don't know that one. I'll
That's-
have to watch
it's
that one.
midnight.
Aliens come down and
Oh,
they just
yeah.
start messing up with the different
Lights.
electronics, turning everything off.
Ah.
Everybody gets that fear and going, why him? And they start killing each other. And the aliens are just standing on the hill going, see, this is all we have to do. Just
Yeah,
a
it's
little
just
fear
a-
and paranoia.
Right,
People
right.
who live on the same block.
Yeah, I haven't even watched that much Twilight Zone, and I got the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, it's
Twilight
great.
Zone? Twilight Zone feel.
And then I actually started to think that I guess kind of in a way all Doctor Who episodes are a Twilight Zone just with a main character throughout the whole thing.
So Russell had written this episode with the inspiration of Star Trek: The Next Generation's episode Darmok. Does anybody remember Darmok?
Yes.
I do.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No, you don't say no. You
Picard-
say Shaka when the walls fell.
Oh, is that the same episode?
That's it.
That's
Do you remember that one?
oh yeah.
Because that's a good episode.
Yeah.
Oh, totally. Because he's like in two places. Because Picard is like in two places at once, and am I getting that confused with? Oh, I'm getting that confused with the finale.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Josh.
And Smith.
Oh, well, is it the troubles with communication?
Yeah.
Between the two.
Speech communication,
Yes.
more
Language.
importantly.
Yes. So, I
They,
mean,
they all speak in metaphor, so when they say no or something's gone bad, it's Shaka when the walls fell. Like, and
It'd
they,
be the 405 freeway at rush hour. You get the whole idea of it's going to take forever. It's like something. That's how they would communicate.
yeah, they only communicate in metaphors, so they wouldn't ever say "I love you." They would say Romeo and Juliet on the balcony,
But then you have to understand what Romeo and Juliet on
which
the
is
balcony means.
where the episode comes in.
That's the drama.
So it's took that idea, but then expanded and went a different direction with it than what happened on Star Trek.
I like how the Doctor seems to change the mood of the ride. You know, it's like there's just all this insane stuff, and everybody's doing their own thing and putting headphones in and looking at their own stuff, and he just kills all of it, forcing them to talk. And you get a couple scenes of they're all really enjoying it. They all really like talking to each other. And even with Sky, who is a very private person, you know, like you know, the professor is giving a lecture, and the doctor's listening to family stories from the family, and then he has a nice quiet little lunch with Sky. So it's like he's getting everybody involved in their own comfortable way, and it makes it all very comfortable. Again, setting you up for the turn that comes later.
But with that discussion with Sky, they're looking at their food going, is it chicken or is this beef? Because I think it's both. And that, to me, because Russell likes it, comes right back to Buffy, which is in the double meat palace. And they have burgers that have a patty of chicken and a patty of beef. And they also mention, Dee Dee mentions the missing planet of Poosh.
The moon.
The
Lost
moon of
Moon.
Poosh.
And also mentions, I had a friend, but she's in another universe. So there's a lot of little reminders that they're giving you now, kind of as we ramp up to the season finale.
Is there another episode before this one where we've heard about the missing moon of Poosh?
Mm-hmm.
Partners in Crime?
Yeah.
what about Shambolis? Have we seen those before?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Was
That was one of the aliens that
Yeah.
the father mentioned
With
in
the
his
pool,
story.
the pool is a concept.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
But it seemed like everyone knew the
Yeah.
race
Yeah.
of Shamboli, like they're bald.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, Three
I
Dog
don't
Nights
remember.
Now, Professor Hobbs seems to be the know-it-all, and he's very strict in what he knows, and that's the only truth. Because in here, the doctor tells Donna that it's real sapphires. You know, cascading down the waterfalls, real sapphires. But then when you're listening, Professor Hobb tells Dee Dee that they're not real sapphires. They're just something else.
That's
His
kind of a
own
motif
truth.
throughout
And this
this.
is so this is the first instance where you get that idea that maybe he doesn't know what he's talking about. I mean, he's been there 14 times and he's saying it's not real sapphires, and so you start listening to what else he says throughout the episode. So I don't know if he's at this point you're kind of going, well, was the doctor the truth, knowing that they are sapphires, trying to get Donna to go with him?
I'd believe the
Or
doctor.
yeah, or is this the first time he's there and doesn't know, and Hobbs is correct.
And I take it as this is the first time he's there, and he's just in that giddy, everything is new. Oh, I want to see this. I want to see this.
Yeah, because there's another example of that later, but I won't. I'll bring it up when it comes up.
The bus stops, and the hostess asks everyone to return to their seats, saying it is just a routine stop to stabilize the engine feeds. Knowing she is lying, the doctor enters the driver's cabin under the guise of a company insurance agent. Driver Joe sticks to the engine story, but Clyde the mechanic tells the doctor that they just stopped, even though all systems are working properly. Joe sends a distress call, but it will be an hour before help arrives. The doctor talks Joe into raising the shields in the driver's cabin, stating that the glass will protect them long enough to take a look around. Shining diamond spires gleam in the sunlight. Clyde sees a shadow among the diamond spires, but then the alarm sounds. The shields must be lowered to protect them from the solar light, which is extonic, meaning it will destroy anything living that is without protection. Clyde says the shadow thing looked like it was running towards them.
So here's that example, is where the track and the route that the Crusader bus has to go to, they had to reroute because of something else. And the doctor is talking to driver Joe, and he says, nobody's ever been on this path. We're the first ones, and he's excited. So that's just what we were talking about earlier. More about the doctor being the first one to kind of trailblaze this endeavor.
This is one of my favorite parts of the episode because you don't see what Clyde is seeing.
Yeah,
But-
I always wonder that. Am I missing it every
But-
time?
We keep looking for it, but
Right, and I've had, ever since I've seen this episode, I always have a picture in my head of what he's seeing, like this shadowy figure. And when I kind of was not thinking about it too much yesterday when I watched the episode, and I kept waiting for that shot, and then I guess that was all in my head. Like, that's how powerful that idea is, and the actor sold it, and the editing, the way you almost see, all that stuff. Everything about this episode is basically something that's implanted in your head. It's great.
Yeah, and whatever you imagine in your head is going to be far better than what they can
Right.
render.
when they look at the diamonds, it looks like a cityscape. Just look like towers and people would be living there. And it's like, was this entity just come to this planet and stuck there?
Yeah, like what?
Or
Yeah.
was it like the last one remaining? Did it kill everybody that was in those cities? Are they cities, or is it just the imagination, like you said?
Well, and I kind of had a memory of thinking it did have something to do with the character of Sky, because she says she found me. Like, this was something that followed her across the universe. But then when that didn't even pay off, I kind of
Right.
just figured, oh, she was wrong. Or...
I mean, it's okay not to answer these questions because they're just
Yeah, that-
sidelined
oh,
out
yeah,
to what
it's
they're
great.
actually telling in the story. I want to know more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were they planning?
Because the one thing that made me think what Josh said was that she goes, I'm on a schedule. Like, she was supposed to go somewhere and maybe meet this thing.
Oh,
That's what made me think that.
maybe.
Right. And for me, like, all these unanswered questions is why it reminds me of a Twilight episode.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's like you
mean Twilight
can't-
Zone?
Twilight Zone? What did I
Yeah.
say? Twilight
Is it
episode?
Twilight? That is
That's vampires.
werewolves and vampires.
Oh.
Shiny
okay.
We
vampires.
just want to know for the audience to verify.
What episode did you watch?
I tried to like have theories about this episode and bring reasoning to the episode, but you just can't. It's just a fun little
It's
scary episode that makes you think about current state of affairs and how we treat one another.
How easy it is to strip away the veneer of civilization on people.
And that's
I
what
mean,
that's
you can
being
see from
delayed.
her character, she seems to be a very buttoned up, rigid character, and my ex had to go to a different galaxy to get far enough away from me.
Literally.
Literally,
Right.
so she's kind of,
Yeah.
You
And I thought that too on like the first viewing, but then now that you watch it more than once, you kind of try to shoehorn in other explanations of why things work, and then that's one of the ones that made me think of
I
what
was
Josh said.
I was actually also wondering if the creature caused the obstacle to make them go that way.
Yeah,
I thought of that.
I did too.
I thought of that.
I don't think so.
But
I think
I
it
don't
was
think
just
so.
random.
I think so too, because then why would he go somewhere to cause a distraction so they would then go back to where he was for them to
Right.
get
Yeah,
there? But
I think this is all just random.
yeah, that's what makes this episode so great is we just don't know.
Exactly.
Right.
And they're kind of slightly moot points to
Right.
bring to a conclusion. Like it's open-ended, cool
Yeah, I love
stuff.
that it's
Yeah.
open-ended.
And I feel okay not knowing because skipping all the way to the end, the doctor also doesn't know.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you're
It's
not
an-
supposed to know. That's not where they want to focus it.
Just going to the points about the open-ended questions, I think it's that really makes it feel like a play. From the theater I've seen, like, you know, you want to get to the character stuff, you want to let actors act off of each other, so sometimes the finer story and plot points don't get fully fleshed out in the theater that I've done, which is like college theater, not professional.
Well, still,
Well, even in professional.
sorry.
Before we move on, just saying, finito class? Come up with a better name. Man,
Oh,
it's-
and what did he
Finito?
call the
Finitos.
race?
Extonic.
Extonic. Yes,
Well, how do they
that's not a
spell
real thing, is it? Is it a real
No.
thing?
No.
They
I was
wanna
gonna look that up.
The
Extonic.
closest thing
That's
that comes to is the exotic star, which is a hypothetical compact star composed of something other than electrons, protons, and neutrons, which makes up, you know, all of the stuff. And it's theoretically composed of quarks rather than those other building blocks.
Yeah, the professor, when he's doing his slideshow, there's like a big X, I
Oh,
think,
is it?
on the
Okay.
star, and it's like, wait a minute,
Sounds like a
what is
drink.
this? Yeah, X-tonic.
Extonic.
A former drink.
Yes, for-
it's after it goes flat.
Yeah,
Well, my tonics are in Texas.
that's funny.
When the doctor returns to his seat, Dee Dee Blasco, the professor's student assistant, tells the doctor that these types of engines don't need stabilizing and asks what is really wrong. Hobbs asks if it's not the engines, then why did they stop? He wonders out loud how much air they have. Val, who is on the trip with her husband Biff and teenage son Jethro, begins to worry if they will run out of air. The hostess returns and they ask her about the amount of air. Everyone begins to panic until the doctor takes control of the situation. He has Dee Dee explain that they have enough air to last 10 years, so there is no need to worry. Suddenly, there is a pounding on the exterior of the bus.
So
Word.
that escalated. Sorry,
Yes.
it's like so that escalated quickly.
Yeah.
Because they just overhear air. We're running out of air. No, nobody ever said that.
Earlier, when the hostess is going over everything, she's talking about don't touch any of the seals because there's no air outside. But then I think the next sentence is the fire escape is out the back, or the fire exit is out the back, and it's one of those, well, where are you gonna go?
But
but that was a joke.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
that ranks right up there with
Okay.
here your peanuts may contain nuts.
okay.
And it's like, no, it doesn't. That contains
I took it too
legumes.
serious.
But I took it her joke
Yeah.
going, the fire exits in the back end. Of course, you guys first.
Yeah.
So that was
She
a
did
joke
say
going.
that, yeah.
A little Southwestish humor. I gotcha. Also, the Jethro character is somebody that I've seen in a couple other things.
Do you know his name?
I have him on IMDb. If
Colin Morgan.
Who would you know him from?
He was the star of the show Merlin in the early 2000s.
Yep.
And he was Merlin.
He is.
I watched that.
And he's also on Humans.
and that's where I've seen him most recently as Leo.
Yep.
Yeah. But that's a good show as well. If you're out there watching and Miss Westworld, check out Humans.
Humans? Okay.
So speaking of the escalation, I noticed that in the soundtrack, the score, they do an underlining like heartbeat to the amping up of the music, and I thought that was really smart because everybody's panicking, and I would imagine blood pressure rising, and then the heartbeat underlying the score goes with that.
The growing tension.
So it was the score, not Don Johnson's heartbeat.
No, not that.
Yeah, that went right over my head.
It could have been on the retrovids.
That's true. It's true. He probably would have charged for the rights, though.
Dee Dee is the smartest person on this bus,
That's the young girl.
including the doctor.
Yeah.
Jethro seems to be pretty quick too.
I think both of them would be good companions, but she was being proactive, whereas he was just making observations.
We'll come back to that because there's a moment with Jethro where it's like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he would be a good companion. I would say Dee Dee is definitely companion material.
Right, but for you to have that reaction to Jethro, he has to be doing stuff that's right
Yes.
at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah, he's staying away from his annoying parents.
Yeah, they were pretty annoying.
And he's no Adam.
No.
No.
Poor
I-
Adam. I'm starting to
and,
feel
like-
bad the way we bag on that guy.
I don't.
In this episode, I definitely have like people I root for and people I'm like, I don't like you. The professor in the camp, I don't like you.
I kind of like the professor. I mean,
I don't like how he's so dismissive to Dee Dee. Like,
Well, you're not
that
supposed to like that
bugs
aspect
me.
of him.
Yeah.
Just makes him
and that's a
interesting.
contrived plot.
But it makes
thing.
you like, what's her name?
Dee Dee.
It makes you like Dee Dee. So she, her character needs that for you to find out that stuff about her.
Yeah, it affects her character arc later when she does start to speak up.
Yeah.
Now you understand why she's not speaking up the whole time because The professor is treating her like a jerk.
Well, they're playing stereotypical icons of
Yeah.
roles. So he's the authoritative white man. Family is the typical, family unit that if it has to look perfect. And then there's the hostess and Dee Dee. They're the minorities who no one's paying attention to.
That'd be a little bit of an
Just
agenda
made
there.
it all about race.
Yeah.
I think that's what this is kind
Russell
of going
did it.
along with some of this
Oh, so
information.
that's what that card
young
is.
kid. So the doctor's trying to filter through all that when he's talking to them later on to find out who these people are rather than the stereotypes, but then they just are that.
I just don't. It just bugs me. It just bugs me when people are dismissed, their ideas and what they're saying is dismissed because
Whatever.
of their gender or their age.
I'm really liking the idea that's come up in the podcast that this is a play. And in my mind, I'm thinking, if this were a play, every night these actors could play the different roles.
Yes.
Professor Hobb insists there is nothing that can live outside, but the pounding continues and moves to the main door. Sky, a woman traveling alone, panics and screams that it is coming for her. The bus gets tossed around and the lights go out. Flashlights are passed around and they find Sky huddled in a corner. The hostess goes to check on Joe and Clyde, but the front cabin is destroyed. Sky starts to mimic the doctor as he talks to her, repeating everything he says. She then repeats anyone who talks, no matter how long or complex a statement. Some speculate that she has been possessed by whatever being was outside. After a moment, the backup systems come back on, restoring the lights in the cabin.
I think this is where the episode starts to get brilliant, for me at least. They never really fully explain how it got in there. Was it her fear that it was feeding? Why did it choose her? Because at first I was just thinking what she said the first time I saw the episode. It was after her, and watching it a few times since then.
That's what makes me think that.
Yeah, but watching it more, the more I watch it, I figure no, I think it was just after because she was the most afraid.
The vulnerable one?
Maybe, yeah, or the most excluded.
Well, Jethro.
That was
Huh?
Jethro's idea.
Jethro says that later on.
Does he say that? Well, then I got the idea
Which
from Jethro.
I like that in the moment they're just throwing out ideas, trying to figure out what's
Yeah,
going
yeah.
on.
I mean, already it's established this creature shouldn't exist. So if it can do something like get through the ship, it cuts the wires. But how did it cut the wires in this little hatch? So it's already not making sense. So it kind of gives leeway to anything.
Paranoia.
Deep Destroyer.
I don't know if it cut the wires because the cabin's gone and so the wires were severed then.
I took it that way because they're connected.
So you open this side of the panel and the wires were cut because the other side's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's how I took it. But it is weird where it's like the chairs are torn up.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no there
Yeah. Sure.
and there's no hole. They're not
Right.
all dead.
Right.
I mean the people in the pilot cabin are dead, but that's sealed off. So we really don't know what happened.
Right. And I like that.
And another speculation is it psychically connected when the truck first bounces around, but then once it destroyed the truck cabin and they opened the door and the lights there, did the entity get in that way and possess her?
That very well may
But
be.
I didn't know if it needed a corporeal being, but he saw something.
When did everything happen and then they saw the chairs were torn up?
That was before they opened the door.
Oh, then never mind.
So-
I think that was at the same moment that the cabin was being ripped out, and we find out that the cabin's being
And then
ripped
they were
out
like,
later.
"Oh, look, the chairs." So that might be when it got in.
But it doesn't need to. It's like it's pounding and everything. So
Yeah.
there is something tactile, so, kind of a
Right.
being.
Physical.
Yeah.
Physical.
Yeah.
When the guy saw it running.
This is just a theory, no way accurate, but it makes me think more that the beast is looking for Sky because her ex-partner went to the other galaxy to get away from her. Maybe there's something that she saw in her that she had to leave. Yeah, scared her.
What kind of creature is her ex-wife that she's so afraid of it?
Yeah.
Or her to going, oh, she's after me. Where did
Yeah.
that come from?
But then see more of that is like there's something with Sky that the creature is drawn to, and that's just my theory.
It could also be because of what you're saying, Eugene. She was just the weakest at that
Mhm.
point. She had the most stress
Yes.
in her system.
Yeah,
so,
she was the most scared.
You know.
Emotionally vulnerable
Yeah,
at
yeah.
that moment.
And so it
But-
highlighted those fears. And here again, this is where Professor Hobbs says nothing can live outside, when the facts are saying there is something outside pounding on the outside of this vehicle.
And I also take it as he's trying to reassure himself, like there's nothing out there calm down.
Yeah.
So I can calm down that I don't have to worry about the unknown outside.
There's nothing under my bed. There's nothing under my bed.
Yeah. Oh, there's something under my bed.
It's just not changing
Oh,
your
there is?
ideas,
My cat.
beliefs, understanding when you're presented with different facts. You just hold on to that.
You dig in
Yeah.
deeper
What
into
does
your
the
own
doctor tell him? I'm glad you have a very finite view of the universe.
Or
Is
of
that what he
life,
says?
of
Of
life.
life?
I think it's life.
in the universe.
like
But maybe
that.
the universe has a different idea.
Yeah.
Again, like if this were a play, we're on one set, but now now we're in two separate areas. So the doctor herds everybody to the back of the truck, and Sky stays in the front. They're not really separated all that much, but it's kind of nice. It's like we're getting a different camera angles, different views, and the people are really claustrophobic now, all on top of each other. While now things are starting to break apart, and they're starting to fight, and sides are being drawn. But the whole time they're freaking about how she's repeating everything, and I just want to be there and scream at them, start writing things down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I
stop
thought.
talking. you
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, get the thing and start. Yeah.
Because at that point, he did say, "What's next? Maybe they'll take us." Like they started to get the idea that it may take us over
Yeah.
if we keep talking, and they keep talking.
Yeah, the doctor keeps saying, "Stop talking, stop talking, stop talking."
But then he's also talking one of the
Right.
most as well.
But he would do that to get other people, because since he's the doctor, it's like,
Right.
well, if something's going to happen, I'd rather it happen to me
Right.
than anybody else. But these people aren't stopping to talk, and this is where Jethro bugs me because Jethro's taunting it.
The 666.
Yeah, he's like, and a kid, kid that age, I can totally see why, very realistic. But he does taunt the creature. It's
And
like,
enjoying taunting.
yes, it's like shut up.
I was wondering if they use sign language, would that help? That's a visual,
Yeah.
thing where
Or-
she doesn't really move. Her head moves
Yeah.
in a creepy way. She does
Yeah.
that really well with her
That
eyes.
actress is great.
And just a head movement really sharp.
Because to me, that reveal, like, she has her back to us the whole time, and the lighting it's darkening the stuff around her, but just focus on her. And then when she turns around, you're expecting like glowing eyes, fangs, something prosthetic, and it's not. It's just that stare. And to me, that says humanity is one of the greatest evils. And I like that is kind of like spotlighted right there.
Yeah, that's right. I like when she was turning around, I expect her face to be gone or something.
And it's not,
which is-
and I
yeah.
love that.
No, she does a very good job. What else has she done?
That actress is Leslie Sharp, who plays Sky Silvestri. She was in From Hell. She played Kate Eddowes, and she was in The Full Monty. She played Jean. And I think it's also the way they lit her, because like you can see you can clearly see all of her eyeballs. And there's a little bit of like something else there, like a glint. So I don't know. Just the way they lit it, they could have like done a little light source to reflect into the pupils. It just looked really good.
And we have to mention the appearance of Rose.
Oh yeah.
Just right behind him.
This one's
Right
a
behind
bit
the
more
doctor, there's
obvious
Rose.
than some of the past
Yeah.
episodes.
And I think this is the first one that's on screen with David Tennant.
Yes.
Oh, okay. It's like you
And-
can't miss it. It's just him
And then he does, yeah.
Rose.
Because he's
But I
out of
mean, as a
focus.
viewer, we
I know.
can't
Yeah,
miss
you can't
it.
miss it as a viewer.
Because he's out of focus and the focus is on the screen.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We didn't really discuss the knocking a lot, like besides the heartbeat thing. But that is one part where this episode, again, because of like the kind of the theatricality of it, it uses the audio to really drive a lot, and of course because it's written that way. But the knocking with the call and response, and then once we get Sky's character being possessed or whatever, like as all of these conversations continue to happen, even when they're separated, underneath of it all, you can still hear her double speak, and now her like synced speaking with all of the characters until the end of this conversation where they're both apart.
Yeah, it sounded like they were doing something with Sky's voice, like modulating it just slightly.
I think because it was doubled up, it made everyone sound like they were modulated. Because when I'm doing some editing, too, you could probably experience it, but like I'll be replacing a longer piece with the actual raw piece, and the clip itself is like a half a frame off, and you can't get it right, and it sounds modulated, but all it is like a half a frame off. But what you were saying, Auburn, about the knocking is very Edgar Allan Poe, Telltale Heart.
But I mean, what an idiot! Like,
Yeah.
what was his name?
Biff.
Biff. What an idiot
the
Biff
doctor
is.
also knocks, though.
But only after Biff has already like announced that, hey, we're here, come get us. Like if something was knocking on my ship or boat or truck like, and again, the sound's really good because the sound and the way that's edited, because you feel the knocking going around the vehicle. You feel it when it's like above them. Like you don't even need their reactions. Like you already in yourself, you feel like it's above you. But yeah, Biff, like if something's doing that, I'm not about to like go, oh no, we're okay, yeah, and knock on any door.
You're gonna pretend no one's home.
I'm gonna be quiet.
I know, if you're still wearing
like,
polo shirts in the distant future, maybe you're not too bright.
Nice shirt, Frank.
It's not the distant
oh,
future.
He was waiting.
Like that one, they're responding.
You're
and then-
communicating
And because
at
of
that
that,
Yeah.
it leads to the doctor going,
This is
repeat it.
intelligent.
And rather than it being a scary thing for the doctor, it's there's some intelligence behind this.
So we communicate.
Oh, that's a great moment too. I don't know if we got to it yet, but when they say you want it to actually live or something, and he's like, yes, and he catches himself that he is excited. He realizes if he talks about that he's excited, they will be against him.
Wrong crowd.
And he can't. Yeah,
I read the vibe wrong.
he can't bring himself to lie about his own intentions.
Sky is no longer repeating whoever is talking. She is now talking at the exact same time as them. The doctor moves everyone to the rear of the cabin and tells them they just need to wait until help arrives, which will be about 50 minutes. Sky stares at them, simultaneously saying everything that is spoken. Jethro speculates that whatever was pounding used her fear as a way to get inside, but Professor Hobbs keeps insisting that nothing could live outside. The doctor states that something is inside of Sky and is concerned as to what it wants. The hostess says that they should throw her out. It killed Joe and Clyde, and now it will kill them all. Biff agrees, but says that they can't because the change in pressure will suck them all out. Dee Dee says they can because the pressure seal allows them 6 seconds before they lose integrity.
It was whatever this is that's in Sky is not all it's able to do at this point is mimic them and then sync up with their speech. But like the doctor says, like she can't move. She's
leave her
not a
there.
threat.
Yeah.
She's not a threat. We just need to wait. And and then all the other people start coming up with like, oh, we got to kill her. And
Yeah.
Even later, when she kind of gets control, she's not physically doing anything to anybody. She's
Just
manipulating everyone else to do it.
And that's why I feel that reveal of her turn, and there's no monster makeup or anything on her. I'm like, yeah, those are the people you need to worry about, humanity, like the people surrounding you.
Right, and
that's
what
it
we
looks
do
like.
when we're afraid. Yeah, like this episode, it bugs me. Like no one's listening to each other. They're all just and like that happens. Like not Frank. Like Brian brought up that's real life. Like that happens. Like things escalate quickly. People are just like shouting ideas at one another. It's chaotic.
Here the doctor shows his concerns, asking, we don't know what the stages are. The first stage being speaking behind, mimicking, then speaking with. It's like, what's the next stage? It could take us over, and I don't want it taking over me. It seems like Dee Dee's the only one listening at this point to what his concerns are.
I mean, even the doctor is saying, would you all shut up? Now listen to Dee Dee. Now, granted, he's the one who is still trying to take charge of a room that doesn't want to be taken charge of.
Right, and I think he tries to take charge, or not take charge too late, but like, I feel bad for the doctor in this episode because he tries to calm them down, like, I think too late. Like, and this also reminds me of like why the doctor travels with a companion, because the companion, any of them, would have been less concerned with the creature
Right.
and more concerned with the other people and how they were responding. Right, while he's over there having a because like come on, like he's also kind of playing to
Well, he's seeing the limits of,
Like
but these terrified people are watching him do it all
And without the companion.
without anybody there.
Yeah, it's for reassurance that
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
going to
Yeah.
be fine.
Also, too, I always get the feeling that there was something about the creature that's amping up their fear. So they're not really behaving like they normally would.
Oh, I do.
What?
think that they're behaving.
I
the
think
way
this is
normally-
exactly
it very
how
well,
people
but
would behave.
I always thought it was a possibility.
So I just see it as this. I see this whole thing as like a study in fear and paranoia.
The doctor's almost when he gets stumped when he kind of doesn't know what to say to them. Usually he comes into a situation and he is the most clever, and everyone shuts up because he's the one talking. This is one of the only episodes in the whole show's run where people don't let him talk, and there's a cacophony like of people's noise and stuff that he can't do his thing. I can't even be me in this room.
While also being robbed of that second person to say, I
Right.
trust him with my life.
Right? Yeah. Because people are always questioning him. Who are you? Why should we? Who is
Yeah.
this guy? Why should we
So
trust
while he
him?
goes off and does weird things,
Right.
you've still got somebody else standing
Right.
around going, he's been through this before.
Right.
I've been with him. Trust
Right.
him. I do.
I was gonna say misdirect like a magician. Like here's something over here while you're doing this other thing to kind of solve the problem. Just another way to look at it.
Yeah.
But I think the entity is affecting everybody. It's escalated. Because I think even Dee Dee is saying, I want to live. And she's showing a lot of fear when she's the smartest person in the room. The doctor gets very emotional, which is not something the doctor would usually do.
Well, I think either.
Well, this doctor does. That's one thing about Tennant's doctor is he's emotional. But he yells.
We're also thinking of these people as if we're in their living room and the TV went out or the cable. Like they're cooped up. They've been there for hours. They got the crap scared out of them. Like the creature, if not is controlling their adrenaline, is doing things on purpose to manipulate them into being afraid. Kind of like when you watch a game show and you can't believe someone doesn't get the answer. You're not the one under the hot lights and the pressure of answering in 10 seconds. So I think it could be a combination of it all.
See, to me, I still just feel that everybody's reactions to this are still very organic and normal, including the doctor's, because the doctor gets emotional after a while when he's gone through everything that usually works with him to calm these people down, and none of them are paying attention to him, and he doesn't have a companion to help him do it, nor to say, these people are driving me crazy. So he does explode.
But I'm not saying that it's not organic. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm saying that it's being escalated or influenced where they're not using other aspects of the emotional range or even intellect.
Escalated how? By the outside force of the entity, or just by them?
By the outside force of the entity. I think if Donna was there, she would be scared and she would be lashing out and being angry at the other people. Because I'm putting more of my own speculation of the entity's power. There's another point here where the professor says, again, nothing can live outside. And
He's wrong.
But also, he's saying that instantaneously, the light will destroy anything organic living. And the front cab is gone. The finito glass is gone. And the light comes in and everyone's still alive.
Well, that's within
Well,
the
for
6
6
seconds.
seconds.
Yeah.
But
There's a
that
buffer.
That's for
that's
the
That's the
air.
pressure.
that's the
Yeah.
pressure.
Yeah,
Light
I
coming
was
in.
just
saying there's a
Oh, you're
membrane.
right. Oh, I see what you're saying.
And there's no glass to stop it. So either that's storyline or it's showing Professor doesn't know what he's talking about.
No, because but the thing is, though, everybody thinks that the light's going to kill them.
And I took that as like the membrane is more than just air. It's like got something else, but I don't know.
That is the common idea that, okay, let's just, say generalization of it's going to, why going 2 seconds, 6 seconds, 8 seconds where you're out there.
Yeah, something arbitrary.
Instantaneously going to kill you. And he just buys into what he's been told rather than being a professor and figuring it out why or what's going on. He just accepts that. And now it's fact because someone told him so.
Yeah, but whatever it is, they're still alive after being bathed in it for a little bit. And so he's wrong, like you mentioned.
Well, it's in a book. It must be true.
It's on the internet.
I saw it on the web.
The dark web.
The doctor argues that they are not going to kill anyone. He asks them to decide what they are, murderers, or are they better than that? The hostess says she will do it. Biff, Val, and Dee Dee agree that Skye needs to be killed right away because she is growing stronger. Professor Hobbs and Jethro side with the doctor until the hostess tells them that the doctor just showed up. He didn't buy his ticket in advance like the rest of them. They all turn on the doctor, wanting to know.
Wait, what is his name? What's your
Doctor.
name?
Doctor of
Who
what?
are you talking to before boarding?
Jethro calls him out on the joy he's been taking about what has been happening. They threaten to throw the doctor out as well as Skye. Skye stops speaking with the others and only talks when the doctor speaks. He crouches down and tries to reason with Skye, saying he will help, but it doesn't have to steal what it needs. It doesn't have to take over a body. Skye now begins to talk before the doctor. He begins to mimic her words. She begins to move while the doctor remains crouched down.
That's freaky.
I know.
I always get freaked out by people being taken over by things anyway. So this episode was made to freak me out.
I really enjoy the doctor's inherent goodness when he sees this new creature and now everybody's wanting to kill it. He's like, well, you're going to let humanity's first message to this new creature be murder? I was like, wow, that's powerful.
It's like, okay, well, we're going to take Skye and throw her out. So you're going to kill Skye. You're not killing the entity.
Or,
Sky-
are you?
Here,
Or is
here,
Sky
go back
already
outside.
dead? Sky
Go
may
outside and play.
But Sky may already be dead.
Right.
Well, Dee Dee brings that up, going, it's now corporeal. Maybe it will die.
I like how the doctor is trying to answer them when they're doing the questions, and he's like, "No, I just showed up here. Oh, I'm a traveler. I'm a traveler." And Val just says, "Oh, a traveler. Oh, so you're an immigrant."
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that.
Oh, that just was a slap in the face.
I completely missed that line.
And this was written 10 years ago, and it's relevant
Yeah.
now. Amazing.
I wonder if the creature inhabits other bodies and travels by hearing other people's voices. So possibly it didn't get inside. Physically, it was making noise, so he heard to incite the people inside to make noise so he could hear, and that's how he got in. Or she.
It. They.
It was Biff that let it in.
Yeah.
Oh, with the knocking?
Shouldn't be on an airless planet then.
That's a very good point.
That's why it's stuck
So
there.
it wouldn't have even heard the knocking.
True.
Unless it had its hand up.
Would have felt it.
But that makes me think that it did derail the tour so that it could encounter
Yeah,
another
but this-
species.
I know what you're saying, but it wouldn't detour it somewhere that it wasn't.
Yeah, and I'm just
Yeah,
trying to
I
put a
know.
pattern to something that's not there.
Because I
Yeah.
thought that originally
Yeah,
too.
it would have just gone right to the car,
Yeah,
the truck.
Yeah.
Or the Pleasure Palace.
Right.
This is all just speculation, but to me, I like it being all incredibly random. This all happened because they went down a path that never happened before, and something happened to the truck, and it got stopped. And that creature was passing by going, ooh, look. And yeah, and if that truck had just kept going, everything would have been fine.
Most predators, like, it might have seen trucks going before and just like, oh, whatever. But now this one is injured. All of a sudden,
Here's my
like,
chance.
yeah, here's my
Yep.
chance to go see what's up with
It's
it.
in my home.
But all that to be like, I think it would make a great Twilight Zone episode. What I'm trying to say is, there's a few things that it could have done to make, for me, like a more interesting Doctor Who episode. I still think it's interesting television, and not every Doctor Who episode needs to be the same. But there are some of these, like, yes, they're good questions, but they don't matter to the story, and that's okay. But at the same time, like, I like some of those questions to matter. That's why I watch Doctor Who, to get some of those, like, answers. Like,
Right.
oh, well, this thing was an alien from like 1 billion years ago, and it must have been here all this time, and now we just disturb it. Like, I like those kind of things personally. I, as a viewer, like those little, like, okay, yeah, give me a good reason that kind of makes sense, but kind of
But
doesn't.
you don't get that in this.
Well, there's just a lot that you have to, that doesn't matter. Like, where the alien was before, it doesn't matter to this story. Like, what the deal is with the diamond planet, the extronic radiation. It doesn't really matter. Like, the story is about the people coming together and, like, trying to eat each other.
Yeah, there's
that's what the
this
story is
has
about.
the least amount of exposition
Yes.
in any episode
Yeah.
ever.
I do want to say real quick, you were saying it's like it's not very Doctor Who-ish. It doesn't do the what you like about Doctor Who, but it does the big one. It does have that moment where the Doctor says, "I'll help you. You don't have to do this. I'll take you somewhere. You don't have to kill anybody else." I know this is a drama show. I know this is entertainment. It's action adventure. But wouldn't it just be fun once to see somebody take him up on that offer?
The Doctor does do that, and I agree. That's part of who the Doctor is. But he also is seeing, I don't know if this thing should live. He has that moment.
Yes, but he'll always give it the chance.
Right.
And when it doesn't
But it has
take the
that,
chance, then it's almost kind of like.
But even
I'm
before
doing my-
before he gives him the chance, that's what he's saying. It's like, this is learning. This is something that maybe shouldn't be learning.
I like that you mentioned the Doctor's scared, because we just had the arc in space where the fourth Doctor says he's scared, and then now we have him like truly scared in this moment. And I think to me it's because he has lost his weapon, words, because his voice is gone.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Sky is catching up to his voice, and it's amazing to see the Doctor stripped down to nothing.
I gotta say, when I heard Russell say that the 10th Doctor's weapons are words, that opened up so much of the show to me, because it just always comes back to
Yeah.
that, and he doesn't have his words.
Yeah, because I can't remember the exact quote, but he's saying she's not exactly strong, but she's got our voices. And then I was like, oh, she has a weapon.
Yeah. Plus, also, there's earlier in the episode, he is using his words.
It's not working.
They're not working.
Yep. And it's great that it's twofold, that it's not working on the people he wants to save, and it's also not working on the thing he's trying to combat.
Right.
Yeah.
When he's frozen and he's repeating what Sky's saying, is just, you totally know a number of things that's going on in his mind through his face, even though he's pretty much making one express. it's just brilliant. I think it's probably one of the best moments he's ever had on the show to do so much. I mean, a lot of it comes from knowing that character and seeing him in that such a vulnerable and terrified position and expression on his face, but to work out what he's thinking in those moments and everything that's happening, and when they're dragging him, and it's just amazing.
I agree. Like, I feel like Tennant is at his best as an actor when he's doing the least.
Thinking about, like, the Doctor's weapons are words, but a lot of Tennant's best moments are his when he doesn't say something, on making a point not to say something, or like when someone asks him who Rose was and he doesn't answer them, like the way his face gives a reaction.
It's interesting because David Tennant doesn't think he does that.
Really?
Yeah. David Tennant praised John Hurt because he could say that John Hurt could just look, and he does nothing.
Oh, he totally does.
And you know exactly what's happening in any moment.
Well, that's why
and he said, but while Matt Smith and I are there mugging all over the place and, chewing up all the scenery, and it's like, oh, what? And then this guy just lifts an eyebrow real quick, and he just puts them all to shame.
Yeah, well, because that's the moments that, an editor or a director catch that the actor doesn't even know they did, and you put that in. It's how you create a story in a reality show that has no connection to what's actually going on.
This is also a good part because it does show that the Doctor is stronger than Skye, because when he's repeating her, he's fighting it.
Yes.
It's like, okay, it is a little different than just having a human be.
Yeah, I like that. I thought more about, well, why is he not reacting like she is? Well, maybe because now she has her own presence in the room, whereas before it was just her. So that's the difference. The difference is now the creature is in her, and now he's being affected, so maybe it's being led.
It's a different.
Something's different.
Yeah, I can see that too.
I actually see both, because I do think he is fighting it. He's not as...
Controlled.
He didn't become the creature where she did.
Yeah.
Skye says that the being is letting her go, which is repeated by the Doctor, who is otherwise unresponsive. She says she is back and asks Hobbs to help her get away from the Doctor. They are relieved that the being left Skye, but Dee Dee says that isn't what's happening.
Thank you, Dee Dee.
Skye tells them it is now in the Doctor, and it indeed killed Joe and Clyde. Everyone is believing Skye except for Dee Dee and the hostess. Dee Dee reminds them that the Doctor warned them this would happen. It may have taken his voice, but it is still inside Skye. They fight about which one is possessed. Biff grabs the Doctor and drags him toward the airlock to throw him out. The hostess hears Skye begin to use odd phrases that the Doctor had used earlier. Realizing Skye has stolen the words from him, she grabs Skye and opens the airlock. She holds onto Skye and counts to 6. They are both sucked out, and the door closes immediately after. The Doctor collapses, repeating over and over that it's gone.
The number of times he repeats it's over, it's like you can really see the toll it took on him.
Right. So, it's, this is a good scene. Earlier, Josh, when you were saying, like, how it goes from person to person, and then something about the Doctor being possessed, and then Val's like, no, but I saw it, right? Like, you all saw that, right? Like, it went from her to him, and they're like, no, she's just stolen his words. And it's like this whole theme of, like, seeing the seen and the unseen, and, like, what do we believe? Do we believe just what we see, or can that sometimes what we see be deceiving?
Remember earlier he said, Josh said that he saw the creature running, and then watches the episode and goes, oh no, you don't see the creature running.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think she was the creature, and now he's being controlled by the creature. Like he's like a barnacle almost.
Right, or like what Dee Dee says, she's draining him.
I was going to say the thing that I thought of was Skye is behaving unusually unemotional and calm. I can't see Val's reaction. Yeah, reason of like she's
back.
Okay, because if that happened to me, I'd be like, oh, I can't believe it's gone. I'd be like more emotional.
Val's evil.
Yeah,
That's the reason.
Also, too, I think for the audience's sake, they needed to show that the creature is enjoying these people's suffering.
Completely understood,
and
but
a total but
and I'm going off of what Val, like her reaction is not my reaction. Is what I'm saying.
I like to watch this episode and wonder who I would be, which person in that truck I would be, and I usually when I watch it, it's like I'm a combination of the Professor and Biff. Up until this end, because it's like, no, I'm not going to be throwing the Doctor out. That doesn't make, to me, it's like that doesn't make sense. So it is kind of like, oh yeah, I'd be terrified and the wimpy person, but in the end, I wouldn't be killing anybody.
But the entity is using their fear by what she's telling them. It gets into your head, but then starts using their own terminology and wording that they used earlier in the episode. She's repeating it to emphasize it, such as it killed, Joe and Clive. She's saying that, going, oh yeah, so it's repeating what their fear was or what they either truth know or didn't have it as a truth. But she's repeating that.
And that's why she starts, because I did find it weird that she would just start saying molto bene and things like that out of the blue. But
Right.
what you're saying is it's not. She's kind of repeating everything that was said earlier.
I see that, the molto bene and all that. I see that as she's feeding off of the doctor and
Right.
feeding off of the emotion that the doctor was feeling. So she's thrilled. Everything that she needs to happen is happening.
Right.
And so she's like, this is great. And just
Right.
the words come out, molto bene.
Well, it works on both ways.
Something that just came to my mind, which I don't know, this is again me doing the speculation, was the doctor doing that?
Huh?
I can also take
She's
it that way.
repeating the doctor.
Yeah.
Oh,
She's
yeah, I
linked to the
wondered that
doctor.
too.
So is he doing that knowing that those are odd phrases
Yeah,
because of the
they're-
way the hostess
and it's like a
was?
trigger.
And listening, so
Yeah.
he can hear everything that's going on. He hears Dee Dee and the hostess going, he's stealing the words.
Yeah, but is the doctor connected to...
He's hearing everything. So he's hearing Dee Dee and the hostess saying, no, she's stealing his words. And he's going to try and put those words
Yeah.
out there. And that's what got the hostess going, those are his words. He's the only person who ever used those words. They
Right.
make no sense to this situation.
There's a Star Trek precedent for that.
I mean, I like to think it's her hubris that she's won already.
I
Part of the
agree. I
story.
agree. I just was thinking
Totally
because the
agree with
doctor
that.
is trying to fight back, his foot hooks onto the chair,
Yeah.
so there's some of him left, and he is fighting back. So I just didn't know, but it
No,
never played out that
Frank,
way.
I
That's just
had
only
that-
speculation. I just
It's
got while we're
interesting to
talking.
think that way.
No, I was just, Frank, I had that theory as well. That's the first and second time viewing, and I'm like, oh, the doctor is strong enough that he's able to get through his own words. But what Brian just said, I'm like, oh no, now I've switched camps, and it's totally her enjoying what's happening, and because she is stealing his words, those are the words that are used.
Agreed, yeah.
And again, it's just the coincidence of it also, that's what triggers the hostess to go on to get on Dee Dee's side of like, no, it's not the doctor, the creature is still in Sky, and it's just stealing his words.
But
That's
I
a very
agree,
interesting way to
because he
look
did
at
say
it.
those two phrases
In the beginning.
in the episode
Because he says molto bene and she's like, what?
in a long Z.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
just shows you always tell your hostess everything about you.
Well, why she held her there for 6 seconds and not throw her out? But that's because it was
had to
blocking
drop.
her from going outside.
Yes.
Yep.
But you could still throw someone out, but it's like, oh no, you can't.
It was also
Cut that out.
it was also 6 seconds to wait for the stunt crew to pull them from the cable.
I really like the turn of the hostess, that you go from like hating her to really, respecting her, in the end. And it kind of it doesn't seem like a convenient turn. Like, she wants to kill the thing that's hurting everyone, and it's not about her own ego and saving herself. It's about, so when she
Wanting to kill it, going, it's going to come after us. She didn't say you guys,
right,
or
right.
anything.
But the fact
it was,
that, but
we're part of it.
in the end, you see she wasn't. It was more about killing the evil thing than self-preservation.
Yeah, because to me that's what it is, because of the line of, you're the hostess, you're supposed to have all the answers, you're supposed to help us. And then she does the ultimate thing to help them, sacrificing her life.
Yeah.
Yes. 20 minutes later, they are rescued. The doctor asks if anyone knew the name of the hostess, but no one does. Donna hugs the doctor and wonders what it was that boarded the shuttle. He doesn't know, but he thinks it's still out there. She sees that his experience has truly shaken the doctor.
This part at the end, I really enjoy the turn of phrase, if you will, where he says molto bene and then she repeats it and he's
Right.
like, don't do that. As opposed to like a companion mocking the way to talk or trying to mimic the way to talk. And he's like, no, don't. But in here, he's like, don't do that because I just went through a thing that was very traumatic with things repeating what I just said. And I was
Yeah.
like, that's great to
Yeah.
take something you built up 3 seasons worth of and
piece
then
of comedy.
turn it. I love that.
I do think this, supports, our theory of the entity is affecting everybody and adding to their fear, because when it dies and is run out, the doctor says it's gone and everybody has a reaction. It looks like something left them as well. The only one that I still think is evil is Val, because she goes, oh, I knew it was her. But everybody else has that, at least the way they're acting, the look of it is the sanity has come back to them.
For me, I was reading everybody else's expressions in the room as like embarrassment of the way they acted.
And then afterwards, 20 minutes later, when the rescue ship arrives, that's when I get more of the
Yes.
ashamed.
Okay.
What's
Now,
happening.
now I
okay.
get it.
They both of them are kind. I
They're really
remember
quick.
now. There's a fade to black between those two scenes, but they're kind of it's similar. And they're mixed up in my mind, I guess.
Professor Hobbs is played by David Troughton, and he is the son of the second Doctor, Patrick Troughton. And he's appeared in classic Who with the second Doctor, his father, The Enemy of the World, and he was Private Moore in The War Games, which was his father's last serial as
That's
the
cool.
regular
He's the
Doctor.
son of a doctor. That's great.
And he was also with the third Doctor in The Curse of Peladon. This is the first televised story since the Genesis of the Daleks not to feature the TARDIS. And we don't even miss it. It's amazing. Some behind the scenes further is that the director, Alice Troughton, not related to Patrick or David Troughton. When she read the script, she was terrified not only because of the story, but because it was one location and it was a stripped down doctor. And then they didn't know, like, how am I going to do all of this and keep it interesting? And then Russell wrote this episode in response or in reaction to Voyage of the Damned, where he takes a bunch of survivors, but it doesn't end as well as it did in Voyage of the Damned.
So yeah, some real parallels between Midnight and Voyage of the Damned, with like the professor character, like the know-it-all that's not quite a group of characters like following the doctor with the doctor without a companion. Yeah.
I think this episode was almost an anti-Doctor Who episode, in that many of the episodes that we've gotten to know now, the Doctor finds the specialness, the good in individual people. You know, no matter where it's going on, and a lot of times he finds that, and many times that person then ends up dead, but he still finds the humanity, the goodness in it. And this is showing all the darkness that is in humanity.
He doesn't make these people better.
No. You know, I'm hoping that would be the entity, which I like at the ending where they don't know if it's still around or
Yep.
not. And the
I
doctor
love
thinks
that.
it is. And it's like, okay, they better find another place to move. It kind of reminded me a little bit like Jurassic Park. I am not going to invest in this. Or how does it go?
I've decided not to endorse your park.
Midnight. Who is this episode good for? Or more specifically, this episode is good for who?
I love this episode, but I'm gonna say that this is for. I'm gonna say this is fan of Doctor Who, just because. So it's like I don't want to introduce anybody to something like this, although it's really good, and I think they would get to the point of really liking it fairly soon. But I wouldn't have it be new, and I wouldn't have it be casual. Just a fan of the show, but it's one of the best for the fan of a show.
For me, diehard fan is someone who watches episodes over and over again. Yes, I agree with Brian that a new Who viewer or a casual viewer may not enjoy this as much as a fan would. I feel like this episode gets better on repeat viewings. I think that that this is a very even though it doesn't answer our questions, it's still very well acted, very well edited, the sound scoring, everything is very good about it. So I'm going to say that this is a good episode for a fan.
I do think that this episode does get better with repeated viewings. The second time that I watched this in preparation for the podcast, I did like a little bit better, but I agree that it is unlike other Doctor Who episodes that I would use for new viewers or that I would suggest to a new viewer. I think I will agree. I'll put it in the fan category because it is a good episode. It is well acted. It does give, like, watching it, you get feelings from watching it, which I think is one thing that entertainment is meant to do, is to help you feel. But the episode does have some shortcomings in the science fiction genre that Doctor Who lives in. Like, the reason that I watch Doctor Who is not always for those hard-hitting performances, but sometimes it's for those, like, cool ideas. And while the idea is cool, it's not quite connected as much as I would like for even a casual viewer. So all that to say, I will also put this in the category of someone who is a fan of Doctor Who would be the person that would enjoy this.
I'm going to say a new viewer, because I think this is a great episode that you don't have to know anything about Doctor Who to enjoy. You won't know about all the doctor-y things that we're talking about, but to me, if I never watched Doctor Who, I didn't know much about it, and I saw this episode, I'd see a really good show that, wow, this is what this show can be like. I want to watch more of this. Plus, you get a lot of the Doctor, which in something like Blink, where it's a great episode for a new viewer, but there's barely any Doctor. this has plenty of Doctor, even though he's a little different.
For the average Joe or Clyde, I wouldn't show them this as a new episode for a new viewer. But if the Hollywood, like Halloween Horror Nights kind of person, or doesn't know Doctor Who and likes that type of feeling, if you're a fan of the Twilight Zone, this is a good one to introduce them because it's similar to what they already like. It has that macabre fear factor to it. I would go just casual. I don't think you need to be a full-out fan. I think it has enough, feeling of this is a good episode. Similar to Blink, that it's a good enough standalone episode. You will enjoy it. You will like it. It may not be completely a representation of what the whole Doctor Who is, but I would, just casual.
Yeah. I thought I was the only one going to put this in a new category. There's a lot in this that I enjoy. And, when I'm thinking of what to place it in, I keep thinking, do I know somebody that I could introduce this to? And I know plenty of people that love horror, and they would get a kick out of this episode. I also like the parallels that it has with the Star Trek episode Darmok, and then that the entity is like this unseeable, unformed thing, and it's more about the character stuff that drives this episode. For both episodes, of Star Trek Next Generation and Doctor Who. And then the creature is also very much sound based, and it's using the Doctor's weapon, so I like that turn. Yeah, I just really enjoyed this episode, Midnight. And so that's why I was like, yeah, I can put it in the new category.
If you want to hear us talk about more scary episodes, check out our Halloween retrospective episode that is in between the two episodes. What is it, Brian?
42 and Human Nature of the third season, and it is the podcast that was posted on October 7th, 2017.
There you go. Boo!
That wraps up Midnight. Thanks for listening. See you next time. When the future becomes the present.
You just listened to an episode of Who Knew Podcast.
Our wonderful theme music is by Michael Grady.
Find him on Facebook at The Universe Explodes.
All our episodes are engineered by Auburn.
Find him at auburnbinkley.com.
Follow us on Twitter at Who Knew Podcast.
Subscribe, review, and listen to us on iTunes and Stitcher.
Or our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Who Knew Podcast.
Visit our Facebook page.
Please leave comments, reviews, and click like to help support Who Knew Podcast.
Also, listen to us on your Amazon Echo by enabling a podcast skill.
All of our episodes are on whoknewpodcast.com.
This podcast is inspired by Doctor Who,
the longest-running sci-fi show in history.
And especially the revival spearheaded by Russell T. Davis.
Thanks to Russell,
Cindy Newman,
Verity Lambert,
and all of those involved in the adventures of our favorite Time Lord.
Your work continues to inspire and entertain.
Be quiet, Frank.
I messed this all up. Professor Hobbs and Jeff... I can't say that name. They all turn on to...
One more thing I wanted to say, and I can't remember.
I can't help you.
Rose Martha Donna TARDIS.